Hello and welcome to this presentation. My name is Rastislav Hronsky and I'm a PhD student at the Hieronymus Academy of Data Science in Den Bosch, and I'm supervised by Emmanuel Keuleers at Tilburg University. Today I'm going to present the short paper that we wrote about word probability re-estimation using topic modeling and lexical decision data. Let me start by motivating why are we interested in estimating the probabilities of isolated words. Well, firstly, in psycholinguistics, it is common to assume that the time it takes people to recognize words decreases with the word frequency. In other words, we tend to recognize more frequent words faster. This phenomenon is also known as the word frequency effect, and while very often other factors are also involved in predicting such reaction times, word frequency is still a very dominant one. Secondly, knowing about which words occur in a person's environment, how often may be also valuable to researchers dealing with AI systems that try to mimic human-like behavior. Now, a popular and commonly accepted way of estimating exposure to words is to derive word frequencies from large text corpora. Typically, this is a simple procedure, starting by simply counting the distinct words and normalizing the counts to a reasonable unit and log scaling them because of the Zipfian distribution that the words tend to have. In the past, corpora were manually created by researchers with linguistic intentions for such purposes. For example, the British National Corpus or the Brown Corpus. Now, these corpora were designed to contain a variety of written English language. But later on, researchers in the psycholinguistic community have found that word frequencies derived from television subtitles explain even more variance in word recognition latencies. And so corpora such as the American or British subtext gained a lot more of attention. However, using such corpora, although better fit, are still a one-size-fits-all approach. What kind of words do individual people encounter in life? This is a very hard question to answer precisely, but generally we could say that it's very individual and it depends on the environment. For example, one can imagine that some important factors are occupation, entertainment that the person likes, social media, geographic location, age, and more generally the socioeconomic background. However, getting a precise estimate of such probabilities by tracking these factors would probably not be realistic, and because of many reasons. One approach that has been proposed to make corpora more reflective of an individual's own language environment is the experiential optimization. Now, the idea of experiential optimization is to automatically select language material based on a target task performance. And this could be, for example, the TOEFL synonym test or ratings of semantic similarity or lexical decision times. The approach requires to first divide the corpus in the so-called sections, which will later be accumulated to produce a custom corpus. In this technique, a section is a reasonably sized chunk of a similar language, approximately of 50,000 sentences long, and when possible it should contain documents of the same label, for example, the same author or genre. Then a hill climbing algorithm is employed, which keeps simply adding the best fitting section to the final corpus until the performance on the target task stops improving. Eventually, this makes the assembled corpus better fit the target task. However, the drawback of this technique is that it still needs to build these sections, and we need to decide their size and contents. In the present study, we propose a conceptual alternative to this approach that uses topic modeling to discover clustered language automatically in any kind of unlabeled set of documents. For the purpose of topic modeling, we adopted a well-established probabilistic method, namely the latent Dirichlet allocation, or simply LDA. This method models a corpus as a collection of documents, each of which is assumed to be generated by a unique combination of hidden variables, which can be also referred to as topics. The method is unsupervised because topics are identified based on words that tend to occur together, and the only hyperparameter one has to choose is the number of topics. One of the products of LDA are the word distributions given a particular topic, in this case noted by beta small m. In our approach, we make use of these topic-specific word probabilities by stacking them as column vectors in a matrix noted by capital A, which we use in a linear least squares problem together with the dependent variable small y that we optimize against. In other words, the solution to this problem, x, is a unique combination, a linear combination of topics that produces the optimally re-estimated word probabilities with respect to the dependent variable y. Now the second part of this story are the contents of y. Well, in our case, these are lexical decision reaction times. In a lexical decision task, participants are shown a string of characters, and they have to decide if it is a word or a pseudo-word. Such trials are repeated for many words, and every time the time it takes to decide such trial is measured. We use two different kinds of lexical decision reaction times. We use individual reaction times and also aggregate level reaction times, which are simply individual reaction times for many participants averaged. Thus, the solution to this least squares problem will be one that fits these behavioral measures, which are selected to be one of these two, one that fits those the best. For the lexical decision data, we use the British Lexicon project, which contains lexical decisions for 78 individuals who were university students and employees, and they were divided in one group of 38 and one group of 40. Each group was assigned to a different half of the total set of 28,000 word stimuli. And the text source we used in the study was the English part of the Open Subtitles corpus that contains subtitles for many movies, and we reduced the corpus to only include movies from years 2000 until 2017, and we also performed lemmatization with spaCy on the corpus. We reduced we limited the final vocabulary of the corpus to words that were in both the resulting lemmas from this procedure and the British Lexicon project, and that amounted to 25,000 words. Eventually, the corpus contained 373 million tokens, and we used it in this form for both deriving sort of baseline word frequencies and then also for topic modeling. Now, in order to test this technique, we ran a few simulations where the general goal was to compare how much variance in lexical decision data is explained by the word frequencies derived from the corpus versus the re-estimated word frequencies, not word frequencies, but re-estimated word probabilities. We report the baseline R squared and the corresponding difference using the re-estimated word probabilities, and in all of our experiments, we also compare values for three different numbers of topics, namely 5, 20, and 80. In the first experiment, we first estimated the word probabilities for each group in the British Lexicon project, for group 1 and group 2, and then evaluated on the other group, so on unseen reaction times, unseen words. As the results show, with both group combinations, the re-estimated word probabilities managed to explain more variance than the original baseline word frequencies, while larger numbers of topics tend to higher values of explained variance. Additionally, we applied the method to every individual and computed two values of R squared, one based on aggregate data of the group that the participant belonged to, and one based on the participant's own individual reaction times responses. For both of them, we report the average R squared per participant and the standard deviation, which is always in gray numbers. While in this case the re-estimated word probabilities also explained more additional variance, the numbers are much lower, and this is because the individual level reaction times are generally much more noisy. In the second experiment, we explored the effect of limiting the vocabulary by using only a fraction of the available words and reaction time trials. And well, we did this by randomly sampling three kinds of proportions of the words: 50%, 25%, or 12.5%. In this scenario, the evaluation was done on the other part of the words that was not used for fitting. And first we tried this with aggregate data. And actually we found these to be fairly robust to such manipulation. Even when using 12.5% of the available words, the re-estimated word probabilities still explained up to 6% more variance in the unseen reaction times compared to the baseline or word frequencies. When the same setup was applied to data on the level of individuals, it becomes notably harder to fit the topics well. While in most cases the result was still better than the baseline, we also recorded cases where the performance got worse, specifically when using 80 topics and less than 25 or 25% of the vocabulary. And this suggests that these topic mixtures start losing generality because the least squares problem has too many parameters to fit and also becomes less overspecified. And a possible remedy in such scenarios could be to employ a regularization technique. Now, in contrast to experiential optimization, one limitation of the word probability re-estimation method is that it cannot be used for tasks that require local context for words, such as building lexical representations, which is an area where experiential optimization is extensively presented. Our technique does not preserve the structure of the corpus or the order of the words, and therefore it is restricted to unigram bag of words language models. And another limitation of the present study is that the effect of mere dimensionality of the least squares optimization problem is confounded with the effect of the actual topic model quality resulting from the choice of the number of topics. Now, this way, the results may create an impression that simply increasing the value of the number of topics leads to better results. However, that's simply not true because different corpora have different semantic diversity, and the topic models should be more rigorously evaluated. It is also important to acknowledge that while the present study uses lexical decision data for both fitting and validation, it would be also interesting to see how well would such re-estimated word probabilities transfer to other language tasks beyond the training tasks. For example, this could be reading text measured by eye tracking device and the latencies involved. And to conclude, we think of this study as a proof of concept for a method to estimate unigram word probabilities, which are tailored for a particular individual or group of individuals based on their word recognition data and the corresponding topic bundle. While the technique can be seen as useful in psycholinguistics, perhaps a little more far-fetched utility may be found in personal profiling or more generally AI systems. Well, thank you for your attention. These are the references used in the slides. Have a nice rest of the day.